Hello friends, Amy R here with Prairie Paper and Ink with a all die cut little scene baby card. And for this card I'm using the Honeybee Stamps Rockabye Baby Wafer Die Set. This came out, I forget when. It came out, it's been out for a while. I needed to make a baby card a few months ago. Thankfully I filmed it and then I lost the SD card or misplaced it. I found it, we're all good. So, editing it now, future me to share with you guys. So with a card like this, or any type of lot of die cutting sort of card, the first thing I do is I go through all my scraps. With this card, I had a blues and neutrals color theme going. It depends, especially with baby cards. A lot of times I really like to do, if there's nursery colors or those sorts of things, but it just depends. And sometimes it just, whatever my mood is. After I did this one though, I was like, oh, I could have so much fun. I could have done gold accessory, make it very modern. But anyway, first thing I always do is scraps. I do all my die cutting at once. The nice thing with die sets like this, I've shown this in videos, is the Honeybee packaging has the outlines of all of the dies in their sets. So I keep the dies on the packaging because that just saves me from misplacing, those random little wafer dies that like to grow legs and just end up in weird spots, like stuck to the bottom of your Misty. So I do all my die cutting. I put all the dies back on the packaging. I highly recommend the little, and I'll have links to everything with the supplies, but I use my Spellbinders Tool-in-One when there's, wafer dies like I showed a second ago that have little itty bitty pieces that need to be removed. I just roll the little brush end of the Tool-in-One to remove all those little pieces. And then with assembling, super simple. With this set, because again, there's little fine detail areas, I'm using just my Simon Says Stamp Craft Tacky Glue with a detail metal tip. I filmed this before I had ordered those Gina K bottles that I showed in a more recent video. Either way works. This works for me. Use whatever adhesive you're comfortable with because everyone's got their preferences. Another thing I'll note, and I will link to it because that wasn't available but until I edited the video, but Simon's Positively Velvet Sheets. There's a pack that is called, I think it's Shades of Blue. Yeah. I wish it had those when I made this card because I totally would have used them. It would have just amped it up a bit, that texture, especially the little curtain. My brain has stopped, but the thing hanging over the little cradle here, that would have looked fabulous. And the little rocking horse and even the little bunny in velvet. Oh, love. Anyway, another thing with doing cards that are all die cuts, highly recommend adding some dimension. That really helps kind of amp up a little bit of the scene, gives it, a little more depth. Using things like textured cardstock, velvet cardstock. Another thing is if you're using very, very thin cardstocks, because all the cardstock I work with, I link to it all. It is all higher quality, higher weights, 100-pound and up cardstock, so it just stands well on its own. However, if you are using thinner cardstocks and you find that your cards aren't looking the way you want them to, or they just look a little flat, one, dimension, little foam squares, that sort of thing. Another thing you can do is just double up or even triple up on the layers. Just die cut multiples and adhere them together if it's really thin papers you're using. That helps add that bit of, weight and dimension. So things like that. And then I just kind of played with, I had I was basically following the graphic for creating this little scene, pretty simple. And then I just used different shades of blues, grays, craft brown colors. The little bunny I ended up re-die cutting. I didn't like the lighter blue because it just kind of faded into everything else. So I die cut him with that was Lawn Fawn's paper bag cardstock. So kind of a bit of a darker craft color, which love. And that's what I used for the sentiments as well. So after I had kind of assembled my little scene, I used the Honeybee Inside Welcome Baby Sentiments stamp set. Honeybees come out with a bunch of these inside sentiment set, which again, if you watch my videos, I love because then I can add something to the inside. This one, of course, has ones for the outside as well. So those I white heat embossed onto this brown craft cardstock. So I'd use my anti-static powder tool, stamp the sentiments with just some white pigment ink, used white embossing powder, melted them with my heat tool, and then use the coordinating wafer dies to die cut the sentiments out. So just tape those dies into place before I run them through my die cut machine. And then I put my card base inside my MISTI, and it's a top folding A2 size card. And I took another sentiment from that same stamp set. And this one I inked up with Simon's Positively Saturated Ink in Cadet. Just nice blue to kind of tie it all together with the theme. And then after I die cut those white heat emboss sentiments, I'm going to adhere those to the card front. Just using a mix of like little foam squares and a little bit of liquid adhesive so I could adhere them over the dimension that I'd created with the foam squares to create that little scene. And then a little bit more dimension by putting foam tape on the back of this panel. And this time I'm using regular foam tape, and this is the Studio Caudia foam tape, which is super sticky, which can be frustrating, but at the same time I like it because it ain't going nowhere once you get adhered. The only thing is getting that backing off, and I either use like my tool-in-one like I'm showing here, or I'll use the edge of my like Cutter B like detail scissors just to get under that corner, and it peels it up, and then we're good. Then the backing comes off, we're good to go. It's just getting that initial like tiny little bit up, and then it's good. So got that popped on with foam squares. You could always leave it here, but of course I'm gonna add just a little bit of bling. So the Honeybee gem stickers, they're self-adhesive. So same thing. I either use something like the tool-in-one or my die pick, pointy tool, or again, the edge of my little Cutter B scissors just to peel them up off the backing and stick them into place. And then with these, if I'm careful enough, I can, pull them back up off the card and move them around if I need to. So I did all of that, got my bling into place, and that finished off this card. Really simple, clean, fun, but you can always mix it up again with different colors, different types of cardstocks, velvet, all that fun stuff. So as always, I will have a link below the video to my blog post. I'll have a supply list. I'll link to all the supplies I used, so you can check that out below if you are interested. Thank you all so much for watching my videos, for thumbs upping, commenting, subscribe if you haven't, and I will see you all very soon in the next one. Bye.